is News Talk.
And you're very welcome along to Wednesday night's Off the Ball. It's Richie McCormack here with you right here until 10 o'clock tonight on News Talk on offtheballradio.com and all that kind of good stuff. We have a busy show on the way for you tonight. Bobby Skinstad, the former Springbok back row, is going to join us after 8 o'clock to talk about the Springboks prospects in this Saturday's Rugby World Cup final against England. Also on the way, we'll hear from Andy Lee and how he thinks Katie Taylor should approach her next big career step. That's all coming up after 8 o'clock. Pat Nevin is going to help us preview the Carabao Cup games, which get underway at 7:30 with the meeting in Anfield of Liverpool and Arsenal. Team news from that coming up. Wolves and Aston Villa also in action tonight, as are Chelsea and Manchester United. And on top of all that, we'll hear from Simon Peach on death by 1,000 cuts at Southampton and their reaction to their thumping 9-0 loss to Leicester just this past Friday. Joined in studio for the Newsround by Ann-Marie Donelan and also the Irish Independent Soccer correspondent Don McDonnell. I was going to lambaste you for your haranguing of Mick McCarthy in today's paper, but
it's not a haranguing.
It was a haranguing.
It's not a haranguing. We'll discuss that in due course.
It read like a haranguing from this avenue. But big news in the past 10 minutes or so, breaking from Dave Heitner in The Guardian, who says Richard Keogh has been left distraught after Derby County sacked him on Wednesday. The club captain suffered serious knee ligament injuries when he was in the car that his teammate Tom Lawrence crashed into a lamppost after a boozy night out on September 24th. Keogh, 33, has undergone surgery. He's expected to be out for 12 to 14 months, giving him a return date of the end of next year. His contract, which paid him 24 grand a week, was set to expire in June 2020. Derby had told Keogh that he could stay and see out his deal with them, yet they stunned the central defender by saying that he had to accept a massive pay cut in order to do so. The Guardian understands that Derby offered him only a fraction of the money that would otherwise have seen him collect over the remainder of his contract. The club's hardline stance was unacceptable to Keogh, and now they have told him that he's no longer in their employ. Keogh has instructed his lawyers in the matter, and the Professional Football Association has also become involved. This messy situation at Derby has gotten even messier in the past 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's going to get messy, definitely. I think, when even the use of language, and I would find, you're doing stories of this nature, and I would know Dave Heitner would be top class, and he would have previously had the story about the timeline on Richard Keogh's return from injury, so he would have a link to that camp, and I'd be fairly sure it was very solid. But when you're using the language with someone has been sacked, it's really it's a really sort of stark situation, and it does. The mention of the lawyers coming into it doesn't surprise me, because this is a contract. It's a very hard one to just sort of straight away form an opinion and say, well, this is a disgrace or this is not. I mean, I'd have a general view about the Richard Keogh situation, which I would have written about before. That I wouldn't, unfortunately, you have a sympathy on a human level, but at the same time, you just can't justify in any way what happened on that night, and think you have to take the consequences of it. But possibly there's a broader point here that, he wasn't the only person involved in the incident. He has suffered the most severe injury, and that he would end up in a situation where he's now effectively gone, while other people who were probably more reckless in terms of their conduct, they've gone through a court case and they've been banned from driving, but they're still footballers at the football club.
Yeah.
And the injured player is more vulnerable. And it does seem like, from the start, that they've had a real issue. Derby have had a real issue with Keogh. They named him in the statement, which I found unusual, just given the club protocol with these things, these matters, that they seem to think as a senior player they particularly felt upset. And that was referenced in a John Percy piece earlier on the Telegraph, that which said that this take it or leave it situation existed, and that Mel Morris, I think the Derby owner, had taken things particularly badly, in the sense of being particularly unhappy with Keogh.
Let down by him.
Very let down by him. But it does seem very severe that it's come to this. And he's going to be injured over a period of time. He's not back till next year. He is of a certain age. Maybe it's inevitable that this was always going to end up in some kind of impasse or court or legal scenario, but you'd still be very surprised by how it's all panned out so quickly.
Yeah, I don't think, given the nature of the incident, a severance of some kind would have been arranged, and I think everybody would have, given how long is left on his contract, given the length of the injury, a parting of the ways wouldn't have been a surprise. I think it's the fact that, and we don't know the figures that are involved. Clearly, Keogh was unhappy enough that he said he didn't agree to this, that the drop in wages was so severe that he just was left with no position but to say no to that.
Yeah, I mean, he did sign the contract. There's obviously, they've taken, Derby would have, to go down this route, you would think that they would have had to take pretty solid advice about, the terms of what what was possible to do. I mean, in that John Percy piece I referenced earlier on, which was lunchtime today, there was a reference to, that the possibility of sort of gross misconduct could be used to describe his conduct in this scenario. And clearly, if you go down, which, Dave's piece would allude to the fact that this is likely to go down a legal route. I mean, they are the positions that are going to be taken by one side or the other. Your description of how his conduct in that night tallies with the responsibilities that are laid out in his contract. I mean, that's going to be the debate.
Yeah, just to give people some perspective on this, because people might be wondering what Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett ended up with as a result of this incident. They did avoid jail when they appeared at Derby Magistrates Courts on 15th of October. They were each ordered to carry out 180 hours of unpaid community service and banned from driving for 2 years. Lawrence and Bennett, they weren't involved, says Dave Heitner in his piece today, for the Derby home squad for the subsequent game against Birmingham on September 28th. But Lawrence has since played the 90 minutes in all 5 of the club's games since then. Bennett was used twice as a substitute, and Derby have fined both of them 6 weeks' wages. I can't help a feeling that 6 weeks' wages and still playing away as if nothing has happened seems like a bit of a disproportionate punishment to being sacked for the person who wasn't driving the cars.
Yeah, no, it's a fair argument, to be honest. It's again, not knowing the whole process. There was obviously an internal investigation, which preceded this, and they were waiting for Keogh's operation. And, we know so much about what happened about that night, and, people have heard various stuff and so on. It does lead you to sort of conclusion that, the senior pro, 33 watt going 34, is less of an asset than the 23 and 25-year-old internationals. Richard Keogh has no sell-on value to Derby County now. He's facing a battle, and these are the words of Mick McCarthy and other people. He's facing a battle to play again. Just at the age that he's at, and I think he has been told he will play again, but at what level? So there does seem to be a certain unfairness that it's, the young lads. I mean, Tom Lawrence and Mason Bennett avoided injury, and they're very important players for Derby. And as a result, football has a weird enough moral compass at times. I mean, Adam Johnson played games for a very different case, in a very different scenario. I'm not trying to equate anything anyway, but I mean, Adam Johnson played games for Sunderland to try and keep them up at a time when he was sort of awaiting to go through the fullness of the legal process for, a pretty serious episode, but he still played the games. So, he was a useful player and he was valuable. So that comes to the top of the, the priorities in the pecking order. So it's a hard one for, they're going to get some grief over this Derby, and you would think that the Players' Union will be on this and making some of these points.
Now they've got a bright, shiny Wayne Rooney to dangle in front of the press come a couple of months' time as well, though.
Wayne Rooney coming in,
with the number 32 jersey on his back for reasons that aren't connected to sponsorship whatsoever.
Yeah, if Derby wanted to avoid any kind of, additional scrutiny from outside on the club, let's bring Wayne Rooney in, who's had a colourful enough year.
Yeah.
Under a number of headings.
In terms of employment, though, law, he has a serious case to make. You're surprised why, as a club, they're going to let it go kind of into the messy scenario?
Well, this is it. I would think that would be my initial instinct, but we don't know what the internal inquiry has thrown up.
And I don't think they put out an official statement themselves on this yet.
No, they said they're going to wait until the process. I mean, earlier today they were saying they were going to wait till the process is completed. I mean, this is breaking news story. So, I mean, if this is confirmed, Derby are going to have to put out a statement. And they were happy enough to put out a statement when the incident happened that was pretty strong on Richard Keogh. And by the way, it sounds like I'm being sympathetic to Richard Keogh. I mean, I feel for him because he seems to be a popular bloke and a nice enough fella, but you know, I wrote this at the time. I just find it very hard to have too much sympathy for him because you know people know the consequences of their decisions, and something a lot more, you know, some really serious stuff could have happened in this case, you know, when those people were on the road, and everyone involved had to take responsibility for that, and they were lucky in many respects.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do sort of agree. From the outside, that would be my impression, but it may well be that, like, you know, Derby wouldn't do this flippantly. Like, he's 24 grand a week, you know, a contract worth what 1.3 million a year. I don't think clubs would sack someone. It would be a rash thing to do to sack someone without having strong advice behind you saying that you can do that. And they clearly must have be working off that impression, the advice that they've been given. But it does seem like, you know, and maybe we have our own impressions of law in this country, and I don't know what the scenario is going to be in the UK with it, but I think they're going to face a battle with it, definitely. All right, yeah.
Anne-Marie, we've got Carabao Cup action getting underway in 16 minutes time, and Liverpool and Arsenal involved there.
Yeah, three all Premier League games in the last 16 of the English League Cup, or the Carabao Cup, as you said. Liverpool welcome Arsenal to Anfield. Republic of Ireland under-21 goalkeeper Keogh Kelleher makes his first start at Anfield for the Reds. Gunners boss Unai Emery has said he's expecting a difficult test in the clash. The last time Arsenal won at Anfield was way back in 2012. Much of the narrative around the game has been in relation to captain Granit Xhaka. That's after Sunday's incident at the Emirates in their draw with Crystal Palace. Emery says that he feels he should apologise, and the club have made their position clear to the midfielder.
I think when we make individually some mistakes, and when we need to make apologies for one circumstance, I prefer to do, and we suggest him to do.
And we heard from Stephen Kelly then this morning on OTBAM.
Yeah, we did. He was on OTBAM in relation to Trent Alexander-Arnold, and in particular if a change of position for him would be wise. A lot of people discussing if they're getting the full benefits of him at Liverpool.
People are probably clamouring for him to play centre midfield because he's such a good technician. But when you're a fullback, he has the whole game in front of him to see. He can see almost every pass, and with his distribution ability, he can find almost all those passes, which not every fullback can. So him being here, if you were playing David Beckham, would you want David Beckham down the right wing, or would you want him to be in the middle of the park? He's best suited when he was out right wing because of his crossing ability. Trent Alexander is pretty much the same. I'm not saying he's the same quality as David Beckham, but he's not far off it. His crossing ability is second to none in the league. So if you're putting him in this position, you don't often cross the ball from the middle of the park, or you don't see it. So when he's here and he's capable of whipping a ball in, but it's not just, fullbacks get into these areas and they cross it in, it's kind of haphazard or it's chipped to the far post. He so often is in this area, and regardless of where he is in the half, the ball will be behind the centre backs. And as a defender, it's horrible to think that the ball has come over your inside shoulder towards your goal, so you have to turn to face your goal. So you're running back towards your goal to try and defend it because it's always behind you. As a defender, that's a horrible position to be in because the striker has a run on you, so they want to go that way. You want to go the other way. You want to be set to head away, not running back towards your goal, possibly put into your own net or trying to just get out for a corner or something. So what he offers from the wide areas, I think it'd be irreplaceable. And if you were to take him out of there, they would lose a lot of what good they have.
That's OTBAM, our sports breakfast show that's on every weekday morning from 7:30. You'll find it on offtheball.com, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook, so you can start your day with Off the Ball. See our social channels for full broadcast details.
Just to give our people an update in team news from that game, Keogh Kelleher does indeed starting goal for Liverpool tonight. A back four then, Nico Williams, Joe Gomez, Sepp Vandenberg and James Milner. Adam Lallana, Naby Keita and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain make up the midfield. Divock Origi is up front alongside Ryan Brewster, and Harvey Elliott, who at 16 becomes the youngest player to play for Liverpool at Anfield. Just prior to when he was born, we were on the verge of 3 weeks of Simon Casey at number one. Westlife had just been at number one with Tonight.
What year is that again, sorry?
2003.
Oh, 2003.
He came out...
Where were you in 2003?
I was in the cinema a lot.
Right.
Yeah, because I've just gone through the films of 2003, most of which are bad and most of which I've seen because it's in a terrible relationship at the time. So
right, okay.
This is facts.
We don't have time to really go into that in more detail now, do we?
We have 11 minutes left in this newsround.
Yeah,
don't think we can do. But yeah, it's.
You have to get over that though, We have to get. I mean, we have to get used to the fact that
It's fine when they're 20 and 21. When they're 16, it's just not right. Like, I can remember with minute detail what I was doing in 2003, and he's a child playing football.
Yeah, like it's the 2000s generation are now. Like it was a bit of a novelty when the first one played a couple of years ago. I think was it Session on or someone for Fulham from like 2000. But now, like it's sort of, it's normal. It's like, well, what year were they born? Like way after Saipan.
It's not normal, that.
I have a view in it.
It's not normal. Elsewhere, Chelsea, Manchester United, Anne-Marie?
Yeah, Chelsea welcome Manchester United to Stamford Bridge. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's side, of course, won 4-0 when these two met in the opening weekend of the Premier League. Both teams' fortunes, though, have quite dramatically changed since that, thrashing the pensioners, winning their last 7 games in all competitions, and United, meanwhile, with only 3 victories in their last 8. Frank Lampard says he wasn't fazed by that result, and he's happy he's kept faith in his young squad.
I set out to see what these young boys could do. If I didn't have a transfer ban and came to this club and had opportunities to bring players in the summer, I still would have trusted in the young boys. For me to have thrown that away after one game at Manchester United and a few opinions, I think that would have made me a bit of a flip-flopper, or whatever you call it.
What we missed out on there is probably Frank Lampard doing what he does, which is make a joke and then go, but really, I'm really looking forward to tonight's game.
To loud laughter as well.
It's going to be a stern test. Tonight's other game as well, Anne-Marie, we've got one more tie to look forward to too.
Yeah, it's at Villa Park, Aston Villa and Wolves. The Republic of Ireland's Conor Hourhan starts and Wolves' Matt Doherty is rested.
Bad news for the Dundalk travelling supporters who'll be coming down for the Cup final on Sunday. Chris Shields out of that game.
Yeah, the Lily Whites will have to do without midfielder Chris Shields. That's due to a ban that he has received. It's a 1-game suspension for accumulating 8 yellow cards this season. Dundalk aiming to complete the treble by winning Sunday's final at the Aviva Stadium. That's against Shamrock Rovers.
Is there anything more League of Ireland than finding out, was it 3-4 days before the Cup final, that you're not going to be playing in it because of an 8 yellow card suspension?
It's ludicrous, really. It's a screw up ultimately. I mean, Chris Shields picked up his 8th yellow card in a game against Cork City that didn't matter 2 weeks ago. It did not matter. It was and there's been a misunderstanding, but I mean the rules were the rules. The rules, I think they're not working off the impression that Chris Shields possibly would be okay with 8 yellow cards because there's an amnesty for players with 5 yellow cards. And I think they believe that it applied to players with 8 as well. It does not. The rules show that. And, you have someone who is absolutely pivotal to how Dundalk operate. And, people will talk about Shamrock Rovers on Sunday and they'll talk about Jack Byrne in particular. And part of the reason why Jack Byrne has maybe found it hard to be as influential against Dundalk maybe as he would have been in other games is that Dundalk have Chris Shields, who in every game is a really important player in that position. He didn't need to play in that match in Cork, and I'd imagine there's a fair bit of internal machinations going on to figure out how this has actually happened. But
can he appeal it?
No, there's no. You can't appeal a yellow card. And the
can
problem,
he appeal the suspension?
Yeah, no, you can't. I mean, I think inquiries were made, but the rules. I'm not sure if these will be the rules in future years, but they are the rules as they were now. And I think they've exhausted the avenues that they could have gone down, and there is no coming back from now in terms of playing in the game. But, I mean, it just seems odd that it comes out. I think the Dock found it last Saturday. But, I mean, it's still... I think there was a bit of hope that he might still be able to play, but that's been extinguished. But yeah, it's a bit bizarre. I don't know, I'm not mad on the rules, but the rules were there. I think 8 bookings across a sort of a 30-odd game season. There used to be a rule years back where if you played a couple of games and you were yellow free, you would lose a yellow. It would be wiped. I think in the UK at a particular point in the season,
there's like an amnesty kind of thing.
There's an amnesty that's applied, and it's quite penal here. But he's the victim of it this year. Yeah,
fun time. How was preparations going, Gent? I guess we'll get into it probably tomorrow night, but
it's grand. I mean, like it's. I would think that this should be a massive event and occasion on Sunday, but it seems like the from the FEI's promotional side of things, it tends to begin very late, in my view.
Yeah. Week of.
The week of, and relying really a lot of the time on media and coverage and interviews and so on. Rather than it being a really sustained marketing campaign. And in terms of, I would argue that the cup final should be sold weeks in advance, regardless of who's in it. And there's 2 cup finals on Sunday, the Women's Cup final as well. And that, you don't need to wait to see who's in it before you actually make it a centrepiece event. It doesn't happen with other events, like the ladies football final is always mentioned, but there's a proper planning that goes into that. Now it's not just about filling the stadium saying everything's great, that doesn't really mean much. It's about the year round, but I still feel that more could be done for this event. It's sort of a familiar feeling I would have every year, but maybe if there's more chat about it closer to Sunday and the weather is kind, the Premier League isn't great on Sunday, and they might get lucky and get a good walk-up crowd for it.
Don't forget, all this week we're giving you the chance to win a spectacular prize with thanks to Virgin Media Sport. It is a trip to Stamford Bridge for Chelsea's Champions League clash with Lille on December the 10th. You're going to get a pair of tickets, flights and accommodation, pre-match meal and Centenary Club padded seats in line with the 18-yard line. To be in with a chance of winning, just identify tonight's mystery voice whose impression of England coach Eddie Jones needs work.
It's half match. It's half opponent. Got to be in it to win it, mate.
Slightly worried it was going to be me.
It's half match. It's half opponent. Got to be in it to win it, mate.
If you think you know who that is, text your name and your answer to 53106 for 30 cents and we'll carry out our end of week draw on Friday evening show. I should also tell you that we're going to be live from the venue at the Hotel Imperial in Dundalk next Monday. That is the 4th of November. We'll have Niall Quinn, Keith Andrews, Damien Delaney on the show. Hopefully some of them the Dundalk side too, should they complete the treble at the weekend. The show was completely sold out, but we now freed up a couple more tickets. So if you want to get your hands on them, go to offtheball.com/events for those tickets. And it's all with thanks to Virgin Media Sport. Their rivals might want you to change for every kick of the ball, but Virgin Media are freeing sport by giving customers access to a wide array of sports as part of their standard TV pack. And speaking of administration, it seems odd that the winners of tonight's match up in the Donegal Senior Football Final second replay are going to have to play in Ulster Championship action on the weekend. But there we are, Guidor and Naomh Conaill at it again.
Yeah, Guidor and Naomh Conaill, they meet again this evening, the second replay, as you said, the Donegal Senior Football Final. And it's been revealed that a penalty shootout will not decide the outcome if there was another draw after extra time tonight. So the two clubs were reportedly asked by Donegal County Board to accept a penalty shootout if it finishes up level, but they have denied this, and it means the contest will go to a third replay if a winner can't be found tonight. So that'll be on Saturday, and then Cavan's Cahilrahan will face the winner of that in an Ulster quarter-final on Sunday.
So, wait, hold on. So if it is a draw tonight, right, that they've forgone the penalty shootout, saying that's not going to happen.
Yeah,
and there'll be another replay on
Saturday. Saturday, yeah.
And then the winners will play the next day against Cahilrahan.
Out of their own choice.
Dan, and you think the FAI can't organise stuff?
Wasn't there a shootout recently for one of the club games where, was it the head of the county board just stepped in after this definitely happened in the north recently, where there was a shootout ongoing.
Antrim says our northern correspondent.
Yeah. And he just like after a couple of shots it might have been, and then basically just decided, this isn't fair. The light is fading. Let's just call it quits. And no one should lose in this way. This shouldn't happen.
Well, you can kind of see the argument, like to lose a county final on penalties would be worse than anything. But the winners in all of this are Cahilrahan.
Cahilrahan are clicking their knuckles and going, this is grand.
And again, surely, I'm going back to the whole suspension. Surely at the start of the competition, there are rules. It's like, so what happens in scenario A, B, C, D?
Well, they were offered
it. Everybody's just decided that the rules aren't going to apply.
The Donegal County Board have offered it to them.
They've just, but like they...
It's the clubs that have decided.
They said, we're not doing the rules.
Yeah.
Screw the rules, Dan.
It's absolute anarchy.
Because there'd be no way to lose.
Maybe Chris Shields just go and play on Sundays so we don't accept it. Just go out there and play.
I don't see why he shouldn't.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's level tonight. It'll go to extra time.
It definitely will be.
Draw. Yeah,
it definitely will be. There's no doubt about it now.
For years, people thought all the draws in the GAA were about making money for people, and now it's... it can cause a bit more problems at a smaller level.
Eamon Ryan is back in business. He's back working with Limerick. Anne-Marie?
Yeah, 10-time All-Ireland winning manager Eamon Ryan has joined the Limerick ladies football backroom team. That's as a mentor for the 2020 season. He's to work along the new treaty boss, Donal O'Brien, who was ratified as manager last night. Ryan oversaw Cork winning 10 All-Irelands in 11 seasons. That was before stepping down back in 2015.
Some of the things that Harvey Elliott missed out on, he missed out on by 2 months the 2003 Meteor Music Awards. Remember them, Dan?
I do not.
They used to have them in the point as was. It was a...
Would have been more your scene.
Celeb.
You probably would have been a bit... You would have probably looked down your nose at such an event.
Best Irish Male in 2003. Want to hazard a guess?
See, is Meteor more pop than sort of,
Yeah, it'd be mainstream stuff.
More mainstream stuff.
Who won the Best Irish Male in 2003, Dan?
Nicky Joe Hart, probably.
Monday.
Nicky Joe Hart was robbed.
Who won the Best Irish Female? This you'll never get. I do a solid Google. See if she's still knocking around.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, then it's not-
Carly Hennessy. Who won the industry award, Dan?
The industry 2003.
I don't even know what industry award means.
Services to music.
Pretty much a lifetime achievement. Well, it wasn't even a lifetime achievement because there is a lifetime achievement that was won by Geldof, but the industry award was won by.
Oh, I don't know.
He stands
Brush
shoulder
Shields.
to shoulder. He answers Ireland's call. It is Phil Coulter. What service he's done to the Irish music. Best live performance, Red Hot Chili Peppers at Lansdowne Road 2002. That's nonsense. I was there and they were terrible. Right, Bobby Strickland, or not Bobby Strickland, he's Bobby Skinstad is going to join us after 8 o'clock to talk about the South African chances in Saturday's Rugby World Cup final. And also later on the football show, Simon Peach will talk to us about what's happened at Southampton over the course of the last couple of years and why they end up losing 9-0 against the likes of Leicester. And next, we're talking about Nevin.
Off the ball on News Talk. News Talk Breakfast.
Clearly, what happened to Kevin Lunny couldn't have happened without somebody sitting down, planning, procuring and financing it. And the finance of an operation like that involving stealing vehicles, having them disposed of, getting a site for the actual torture to be conducted, all of that requires a lot of planning and a lot of money. So there has to be an entity whose interests are aligned with this particular campaign and who is paying for it.
News Talk Breakfast with Shane Coleman and Kieran Cuddihy.
In association with AIR.